Life has improved for people across South Africa. According to the census statistics, more and more people have access to electricity and are dwelling in formal housing. Encouragingly, more children are enrolled into formal education. Life is good, or so it seems on paper. Welcome to Alro Park. During the Apartheid regime, this is one of the areas that was demarcated for coloureds. A little further down the main road, you'll find Mackenzieville. This is where the Indians resided. Combined, it is an area so small that it will pixelate if you zoomed into it on Google Maps. Life has seemingly improved for residents. Houses are on the power grid. I have free access to the internet 24/7 thanks to Ekurhuleni, and the roads are tarred. Ooh, message! But life is not easy for residents. Unemployment is rife, and the widening divide between the haves and have-nots is acutely felt by residents. South Africa is now free, but not everybody experiences that freedom. To understand why, we have to start at the beginning.
I initially wanted to be an air hostess because from a very small age I wanted to travel, and I knew it counted against me being not white, and their excuse was I wasn't tall enough. And anybody that knows me know that I am tall enough, much taller than any air hostess right now. So I think that was a low blow.
Apartheid was a colossal system that enforced white supremacy, and one of the avenues it used to achieve this was the employment sector. Jobs were few and far between for non-whites during the Apartheid era, and those that were available paid very little and did not offer much opportunity for growth.
When I started having to find jobs and what have you, and you would physically see in the newspaper a job would say whites only, it affected me. And that is the time that I decided that I would never align myself with politics because it sucks, it's dirty, and they are liars.
If there was a lack, I would not see, because my parents had a way to cover things. They were not rich, absolutely, you can't be rich working for government at that time.
During the Apartheid regime, the ruling party formalized their oppression through legislation. One of the laws that was introduced was the Bantu Education Act, which compiled a curriculum which was vastly inferior to the education which whites received. On top of that, if you were not white, there were some services that you could not partake in.
Up until I think I was around 8 years old, then I started living with my parents then because my mom had finished studying and my dad had stopped boxing and he had a stable job.
Those years there were road houses on the road as you go because you were not allowed into the other restaurants. So as we stopped at this roadhouse, the waiter comes to us, it's 3 cars, he comes to us and says to us, because you are black, unfortunately we're going to have to serve you in paper plates. And we were about to get angry and my brother decided, no, let's order. So we went to the other 2 cars and we said, order ridiculous amounts of whatever. So we ordered 4 milkshakes each, 4 burgers, 4 whatever. Now the roadhouse area where the cars would park is sand. And as these 10 waiters comes out with trays overflowing with paper plates, we pulled away. We thought if we aren't able to eat in the glass plates like everybody else or like the whites, we will waste your food. And we left and we went. And at that time, the Wimpy was the only place that was multiracial. And we went to the Wimpy and had food there.
One of the devastating consequences of the apartheid regime is that men left their young families at home in the homelands and came to the city to find work. This often left women as the sole caregivers at home.
So I went to a local school with my cousins. I mean, we roughly the same age, all 6 and 7 of us. And so I used to see my parents on weekends.
Financial and emotional security was a rarity for the non-white child during apartheid. Sadly, that still exists today.
I remember when I first went to multiracial school, and my parents could only afford, I got 50 rands pocket money a month. And with that 50 rand, I used to save it because once every quarter, my friends and I would go to the movies, and so it would just be enough to buy me, we would share a pizza, to buy me a pizza and a cool drink, and then to get into a movie and buy popcorns. And so it took me the 3 months to be able to save up money for me to be able to fit into my social setting. Whereas my friends, it was very different for them, you know. So the economic freedom that they had then was so much more different to what I had.
Our 3 protagonists grew up during different decades of the apartheid system, in a system that oppressed them, physically, emotionally, and psychologically.
And I was so ashamed of where I lived that I would not let them drop me off at the gate. I would rather I walk all the way home and nobody knew where I lived, because I knew where everybody else lived and what it looked like. And so that embarrassment is probably the most memorable thing for me about where I come from.
I met this German lady in a coffee shop somewhere, and I think she didn't know what I was. And she then invited me to this big corporate meeting of Average Lane and said, I'll bring a few people along. And here Geraldine rocks up, we black. So we rock up with a caravel full of blacks. And when we walked in there, I realized, hell, these people did not expect this. So we were literally the first blacks that walked into Average Lane, and I was responsible for breaking the barriers. And Average Lane in the black market is where it is because of me.
Our protagonists were pioneers. They went against the grain, they swam upstream. They achieved noteworthy success because of their deep-rooted self-confidence.
You know, everybody had those encyclopedias that nobody read. That was Google on the shelf. And my mom bought me my first pair of lavatory heels, high heels, for Christmas, but I could not walk on these things. He took me and he put this encyclopedia on my head. And he said to me, we had a long wooden passage, he said to me, walk and practice to walk with this book on your head. So you were forced to push your shoulders back and you're forced to walk upright. Walked, and he was sitting in the area where he could see through the glass door, looking at me, until I mastered walking with that book. And all I thought was, he's teaching me to walk on hills. When I was done with the exercise and I mastered walking with the hills and I mastered walking with your shoulders back and what have you, he took the book off and he said to me, at the age of 10, I didn't understand what he was trying to teach me, but he turned around and he said to me, from now on, you will walk into a room like that. And I said, why? He says, because you will walk into that room as if you own it. And soon thereafter, you would.
It was not all smooth sailing. Life threw them many curveballs.
The only opportunity that I think I was robbed of was being an air hostess, but then again, I believe that my journey as I went and as I've grown and as I've come thus far was predetermined. So I wouldn't attribute anything, any misfortune, to apartheid if God did not allow it.
Having a child as a 19-year-old, for me, it's not something that I had prepared.
I think I got married too early initially because I didn't really live yet.
If I had known better, if I had someone who could teach me better, tell me better, or sit me down. Yes, I had people who sit me down, but I think their tactics just didn't work. I come from a religious family, so when my family members heard that I'm dating, my uncle came and he prayed for me. I was like, it's not a demon. It's supposed to happen. It's part of it's a growth process. So you can't do exorcism for me to stop dating.
They got derailed, but they were not afraid to take the plunge and reroute.
And at the end of my 3-year degree, I was still very curious about medicine. And the funding that my mom had saved was enough. And that was just all that she had.
It affected me where I had to then venture into a different direction that would allow me to be. I initially wanted to be an air hostess because I wanted to travel. And I then had to get into banking and areas where I didn't really want to be. And this is not something that I'm proud of. I was in the corporate world for 6 years and had 4 jobs because I hated it.
I actually started preparing myself about 5 years ago, thinking, you know what, I'm going to go full-time into business. But it was the fear, you know when you are a slave to a paycheck? Yeah, I feel like I was a slave to a paycheck because the only thing that kept me in corporate was the paycheck.
That is glorified slavery, where someone determines what time you need to be at work, what time you can have tea, what time you can go and eat, what time you can go and pee, what time you need to finish, and what time you can go home. The reason why I had 4 jobs is every time when I wanted leave to go on our church conferences over September, they would tell me I'm not able to get leave because it's not due or it's a busy time. Then I resign. I resign and then come back to a different job next month, and my father is still dropping me at the previous one, and I don't know how to tell him, Dad, I'm now working somewhere else.
Wrote down all the 8 names of the universities that offer medicine in South Africa. I pulled out of a hat and I said, God, I'm going to apply to one. If they take me, I'm going to go into medicine, and I'm sure you will provide. And if they don't, well, I'll continue to become a psychologist. So I picked one university, I applied there, and they called me. And so they offered me funding, they paid for my accommodation, they paid for my books, they paid for everything.
I think I should have made this decision a long time ago to go full-time into business because I love it.
The glorified slavery, that which I did not like, forced me to decide what I want to do on my own. And that was when I ventured into Average. And there, subtly, the dominance of apartheid and what have you was the reason I left Average. Because I was given this ridiculous targets that was almost impossible to achieve unless I had to kill myself and the team in the process.
I mean, I went to school and I did a 3-year degree, and then I left that degree and I went and I did a 6-year degree. And I remember throughout my 6 years, I was so envious of my friends because they were done, they were working, they would take me out for drinks. I could never buy anybody a drink, because I couldn't afford it. And it's not just for a year or 2, it's for 6 years.
So I left because of the unfairness there and was then forced to go out on my own. Had no idea what the word logistics means, but I went and I printed business cards about logistics and I learned as I went.
On the other side of the river, the divide separating the impoverished Alra Park and the middle to upper class Nigel, you'd find this suburb. Our 3 protagonists have proven to us that it is possible to get from there to here. But why are not more people crossing the divide?
Everyone around you is going through the same things. So when you grow up in an environment where you don't look different, where you don't have any different experiences to everybody else around you, what you know is actually quite normal.
So often the difference maker that catapults children into success begins here, at home.
It starts in the house. Mothers need to be mothers, and fathers need to step up the plate and be fathers. Our dads were leaders. They led with permission.
The home is an anchor, and a sturdy anchor will prevent a child from being tossed to and fro in the waves of life.
A lot of people in this world are dying from chronic conditions, and most of them are as a result of things that are within our control. And so I think life is very much the same, that so much of the things that are around us may be out of our control. However, there is a significant amount that is within our control. And so I think that it is so important for every single one of us to have a strong sense of self and a strong sense of awareness of my strengths and my weaknesses, because I think therein lies such an intensive power that if every single one of us can be given the power to be able to have control over that, we would actually be able to do a lot of good things.
If they are not aware of themselves, so self-awareness is very important. This is one thing that we also push. Where they don't know their life goals, it's very easy for them to be swayed.
You need to know who you are, and you will not be affected or infected by anybody else that comes around you or into your space.
A healthy home environment encourages children to reach higher and push harder to achieve. Not me, said Bear. So his parents said yes.
The degree to which our youth value education and empowerment and betterment of ourselves has a lot to do with the environments from which we come and from the exposures that our kids have. And so if we can increase those exposures and increase the number of role models, we probably could be adding to the perception that youth have of education and betterment.
In 2013, 271 teenagers fell pregnant each day in South Africa. Naturally, this decision-making has far-reaching consequences for the young mother.
We make the most important decisions of our lives when we are young. At a time where we have such little experience, at a time when our hormones are running wild and the last person you want to listen to is your mom or your dad.
One of the biggest challenges today is pregnancy. And believe me, the children, they're not getting pregnant because they don't know that when they engage in sexual activities, they're going to get pregnant, especially without protection and all that, and they may contract other diseases. But because they don't know better, they don't have role models that they look up to.
You would be hard-pressed to find a good role model this side of the divide.
We as Black people become economically empowered. We tend to leave the places where we grew up, and we now move to the suburbs where we are now isolated, and so we leave our kids and our communities where we come from without any role models to look up to as a very significant contributor.
The only way to actually help them through life is when they have someone to talk to, someone they trust, someone who's outside of the family unit. Because you know, family can be harsh, can be hard at times. You know, you can't go to your mom and say, "Mom, I'm dating this boy," and whatever. Not every Black child is lucky to have a parent like that.
If more of us could be able to do that, give more of our time for somebody to be able to look up to you. There's a song in hip hop where there's a line that says, "Every man has disciples." And I truly believe in that, because I think that it may not be intentional on your part, but in you being who you are and giving of yourself, somebody sees that and somebody aspires to be that. And so you giving of yourself, sometimes even unintentionally, in certain instances.
You know what, I want to be that person. I want to be that big sister. You know, I want to be that big sister who, when a girl is going through life challenges, I'll be the first person she calls or she WhatsApps, and she contacts and say, "Sissy, these are the challenges." And someone who's not going to judge her. You know, someone who say, "You know, baby girl, I've been there, and look at me today. I was 19 when I got pregnant. I was not prepared. I got married. I didn't make right decisions."
Our kids look up to us in some areas and other people in other areas. And so if I know that my daughter the other day liked a lady's yellow wedge shoes. And so she said, "Oh, mommy, you need to buy those shoes." And I said, "But Lavi, I've got yellow wedge shoes," because they don't look like that. You know, so your kids may then be attracted to somebody else because of whatever it is that they see in someone. And so in acknowledging that and being able to give them that type of exposure, it helps to create a force from multiple angles that is actually able to motivate youth. And I think for me, that speaks to how each and every single one of us has a role to play, not only in our homes, but outside our homes, because we don't know who looks up to us and therefore can take lessons from us when their mother or their sister or their guardian is not able to give them that type of advice.
Women are particularly vulnerable in areas such as Alro Park. And despite the census statistics showing that both genders are equally represented in educational institutions, this equality does not transfer into the employment sector. Colored and black females are less likely to be absorbed into the workforce. It is this lack of economic freedom that contributes significantly to the vulnerability of women.
Coming from a rural province, there was an article in a newspaper, the Sowetan newspaper, about 7 years ago, where they said about 52 girls in one school in 1 year got pregnant. That made my heart to stop. And I thought, something is not right. You know, you'd hear a girl got pregnant 2, 3, 5, 10, maybe. But 52 in one school in 1 year? Clearly the teachers are not doing anything. The parents aren't there. And unfortunately we cannot blame the teachers that they're not teaching these kids. But something needs to be done. I didn't know what it is. I didn't know what to do, but I felt I needed to do something. I felt so touched because it's a village not far from my hometown. And I felt like it's my community. You know, if I don't do something, I'll read the newspaper and talk about it, and that's it.
If you were not affirmed by your parents, you are going to look for affirmation by any other person that comes into your arena. So it is important for us as parents, our girls and our boys, to affirm them, to tell them they are beautiful, to tell them that they are the best, to tell them that they can, and they would believe it, because what our kids hear is what they end up believing.
Stereotypes are commonplace. Statistics reveal that over 83% of black girls and 75% of colored girls are required to take care of the children and the laundry in the household.
I think society has a role to play. Being brought up in environments where girls are seen and treated as the vulnerable sex. I think back to my own childhood, you know, when my grandmother wanted to send someone to the shop and I wanted somebody to run and be back here quickly, the boy had to go. Interestingly, I ran faster than my boy cousins, but I would never be sent because I'm not a boy. So there's a stereotyping that I think as individuals we have, and so it becomes such an inculcated part of how societies treat girls and boys.
Stats further reveal that this stereotyping carries on into the classroom, where boys are unlikely to be asked to clean the toilet or the blackboard.
I think we tend to have perceptions and stereotypes as societies that we perpetuate in our own children, that we perpetuate in how we treat the people around us. And that is perhaps responsible for the reasons why we treat kids the way that we do. And so girls are then given lesser attention, girls are given lesser responsibilities, and we are not pushed into things that boys are being pushed into. And I think it becomes a conscious decision on our part repeatedly to actually stop acting that way, because I think somehow it's something that it's in the subconscious. And so if we then become aware of it, and it comes into the conscious, and so consciously I then begin to treat my children the same or in ways that actually do not discriminate, I then begin to change that stereotype, and society then also begins to change in that way.
It was William Ellery Channing who said, "Difficulties are meant to rouse, not discourage. The human spirit is to grow strong by conflict." I think those words are true for our three protagonists. They have indeed proven to us that the divide is not too wide to conquer.
Live. Don't exist. We all have 24 hours, and what you do with your 24 hours will compensate and give back to you later.
I think a lot of the decisions that we make, good and bad, that lead us into the paths that we end up in, have a lot to do with our self-perception, whether it's a low self-esteem or a positive high self-esteem. It has a lot to do with our environments and how we were brought up.
we do make mistakes, and it shouldn't be like, this mistake is fatal. There's no fatal mistakes except death.
I think that a knowledge of the self, and secondly, coming from the outside, it becomes the societal pressure. And I think it then makes a very good motivation for us to also circle ourselves with people who encourage us in the way in which we want to go. So if I have friends who usually give me bad advice, and I'm aware that actually this advice is what gets me into trouble, make the decision to actually limit that type of influence and put yourself in an environment where the type of influence that you're getting is much more positive and will get you somewhere else.
Do not allow your view and your vision of your purpose and your destiny to be tarnished by anybody else. Decide and discover what it is that you were created for, because until such time, you are just existing. Until you've discovered what God has purposed your arrival for, you are merely existing.